Honorable Jala, Minister of Education, other government officials, Dean and members of the Diplomatic Corps, honorable members of the Legislature, Honorable Speaker, Donati Kofa, former Senator Kamani Wise, Madam Teresa Lee Sherman, only woman signatory of the Accra Peace Agreement, faith-based institutions and religious advisor, President, Republic of Liberia, representatives of civil society, former government officials, the media, representatives of the Third Estate, students, the future leadership of Mama Liberia, students, the future leadership of Mama Liberia, distinguished guests, and of course, our presence needs no comment. Madam Republic of Liberia, can we give her a hand? Let me begin by expressing my appreciation for this opportunity by government through the Ministry of Education to serve as orator for the 177th Flag Day observation on the theme, the flag, the symbol of one Liberia. Last year's theme was the Lone Star, symbol of unity and nationalism. Today, we will build on that in a very practical and action-oriented development way, as there is no doubt that it is the essence of what our Lone Star was and remains today, a symbol of one Liberia. And here, let me say, if I didn't mention the academic community, the university presidents who are here, and former presidents who are here, Ambassador Conte and other ambassadors of the Foreign Service of the Republic of Liberia. In that regard, let us recall how the Lone Star came about, its meaning and its significance. A month after our Declaration of Independence on 26 July 1847, the flag was flown by 7 Liberian women, namely Susanna Waring Lewis, Committee Chair, Sarah Draper, Mary Hunter, Richard Johnson, Matilda Nepo, J.P. Rosram, and Cornelia G.H. On 24th August 1847, the flag was hoisted. Yet, how many of us know that the first flag of Liberia from 1827 to 1847 had 13 stripes and a cross against the blue field, symbolizing the fact of Christianity that formed the nation, and 13 stripes as per the U.S. However, that flag was subsequently changed upon the signing of the Declaration of Independence. 11 signatories of the Declaration, the blue field representing the then dark African continent with the one star, symbol of the birth of the first Black Republic on the African continent. The 1847 flag was critical in symbolizing the birth of a sovereign nation, a new nation. It was one of pride for people of the African race. The historical context of the times was equally significant. Not only did the Lone Star exhibit the sovereignty of a new nation, but the flag was one that attracted people of the African race as well as the African diaspora to the new nation. This is significant. This is very, very significant, as it will tell you something about where this nation comes from and where this nation is born. Here is where the mosaic of Liberia comes into play. Our late oral historian, Reverend Emmanuel Bouya, whose demise remains a major tragedy and loss for our nation, he maintains that we all came from somewhere. Indeed, Sister Mary Lorraine Brown, former president of Stella Maris Polytechnic University posits that what is Liberia today is made up of two groups of settlers. The earlier settlers, who were they? Various ethnic groups that came from other parts of the African continent. Those were the earlier settlers. They came to Liberia from all over the continent. She then refers to the latter settlers from the New World, the Americas, West Indies, Nova Scotia, as well as the recaptured Africans from the Congo, offloaded and set free by the British and U.S. gunboats in both Sierra Leone and Liberia, the basis for places named Tonga Town in both countries. I hope everybody heard that. Thus, our flag was a beacon of hope for all peoples of African descent. The brilliant intellectual Edward Wilmot Blyden, of West Indian origin, and the foremost Pan-Africanist, immigrated to Liberia for an education that he could not have obtained in the U.S. at the time. Edward Wilmot Blyden, who birthed the concept of Pan-Africanism. That's where it came from one of our own who came and settled here from the islands. Our flag, the Lone Star, and its symbolism attracted him and others. The West Indian pedigree of President Arthur Barclay and Edwin J. Barclay, whose ancestry claimed Dahomian roots. Did you hear that? Arthur Barclay, Edwin Barclay, who found himself in the Caribbean, but of Dahomian roots, and immigrated to Liberia. While very close to home, the parentage of President C.D.B. King from Oyo Yoruba of Nigeria, which upon the breakup of that empire found themselves in Sierra Leone as a trader on the West African coast. Encountering Edward Wilmot Blyden, who urged him, C.T.O. King I, father of C.D.B. King, and my great-grandfather, to come and help build a new nation, Liberia, that was being born. Net, C.T.O. King I immigrated to Liberia from Sierra Leone, naturalized, became mayor of Monrovia, married a West Indian immigrant from Barbados, and birthed C.D.B. King. What am I saying? Namely, that the Lone Star attracted a diverse group of people. He eventually became honorary consul for Brazil and took Liberia coffee to Brazil. Did you hear that? Liberia coffee was taken to Brazil by one of the immigrants who came here. So, the Lone Star, not for nothing palaver, right? We took something to Brazil from this, the Lone Star. Ladies and gentlemen, why have I done this? Primarily to show that Liberia is a mosaic of African peoples. During the Tupman era with the new counties, the flag again had all the national flag as well as the relevant attributes, culture, and history of each country, again to emphasize our uniqueness as a people. The county flags were introduced as a way of unifying the nation. Our oneness, as per late Dr. Mary Antoinette Brown Sherman, first female president of the University of Liberia and former Minister of Education. Dr. Sherman said and has left with us the following: there is more that unites us as a people than divides us. Ladies and gentlemen, there is more that unites us as a people than divides us. This is the underlying basis of this nation. Dr. Brown, daughter of Marjeloma, of bi-ethnic group and West Indian immigrants, Honorable Grimes, the Louis Arthur Grimes School of Law, and whose son would one day serve as Liberia's Secretary of State, following Secretary of State Mamadou Duplé, the first ethnic Secretary of State under the Tubman administration. Duplé laid the foundation of Liberia's foreign policy and led the Liberian delegation to the Non-Aligned Conference in Jakarta, Indonesia. The words of the foremost Pan-Africanist, Amilcar Cabral, of Guinea-Bissau nationality, is thus of particular relevance for Liberia to be shown. What were the words of Amilcar Cabral? Amilcar Cabral said, "Our history must guide us, but it must not define or divide us." Do we understand what that means? Our history must guide us, but it must not define or divide us. What we do in this nation, we let our history define and divide us. If we continue that route, this nation goes nowhere. Our history must guide us, but it must not define or divide us. With this perspective, let us now say, where does the Lone Star carry us today? It is clear that observation of Flag Day was always celebrated with passion. Every house would hoist the flag. Indeed, every government ministry would hoist the flag, in good condition and not shattered as we tend to see it today. The respect of our flag in the past needs to be rejuvenated. We must rekindle the flare of patriotism and pride. Our flag represents the blood of our ancestors, the purity of our struggle. Our flag remains a symbol of hope and resilience. How I recall at the age of 10 and 11, the song in our schools as we observe Flag Day. Shout for the red, white, and blue. If any in the audience remembers, please join me and stand up and give 3 shouts for what? The red, white, and blue. Who remembers the song that we sang as young people? Shout for the red, white, and blue. Nobody remembers it? Who remembers? 10 and 11 years old, I remember we used to say, shout for the red, white, and blue. Who remembers? Say it, sing it. Shout for the red, white, and blue. Shout for the red, white, and blue. I was 10, 11 years old. That's what we did. Thank you, all of you who remember. Indeed, in preparing my oration, I asked several elders what they remember from the observation of Flag Day in their respective areas of town. I will highlight some of what they remember. I contacted some of our elders. Sister Mira Lorraine, she said we must teach Liberia's children to look upon the ensign with unbridled pride. Remember our founders and strive with zeal, with all their might, to build rather than destroy Liberia. So that Liberians will make Liberia not only an enjoyable, prosperous home for themselves, but also a haven for other citizens of the world. She continued to say that the little design are fluttering in the breeze all over the world, but it is the citizens that gave it the voice to speak loudly. Then, Dr. Anthony Barclay, our flag should unite us to collectively fight a good fight to tackle our systemic corruption and ensure that justice and the rule of law apply to all of us in a prevailing atmosphere of peace and solidarity. One people, one nation, all of us, irrespective of which group of people from which we originated. After all, as we're working Emmanuel, people somewhere, while we all may have traveled somewhere forcibly or voluntarily in our lives, that should not deprive us of being Liberians and having equal rights. An important point to consider is that in exercising the right, we should do so with responsibility and dignity. We should be aware that every right has limitations. Our history has put us together. Let no one, no group of people, driven by greed, selfish motivations, and ignorance divide us. In the case of ignorance, we must open to admitting to what we do not know and being humble enough to learn and share what we have learned. other views, Dr. Alexander Content, he indeed reminded me of the shout to the red, white, and blue. And former Minister of Internal Affairs, Monish Sirleaf, our national flag, he says, our national symbol should serve as a rallying point for all Liberians, irrespective of tribe, religion, or creed. We as Liberians must at all times unite. Father Kwe of the College of Covington University Junior College, Kakata, he talks about growing up in Daribala, Grand Kipma. He says, I remember every town in Liberia had militia, and they gathered at a distinct designated parade field in the district. The parade on flag, they moreover every house in our land hoisted our national flag. And the flag waves its feet in the United Nations. My fellow Liberians, despite the complaints, we must stand. Finally, Reverend Akwai of Better Future Foundation, Flag Day was a day of passionate patriotic celebration, he says, that cultivated civic duties, reconciliation, and integration. To the extent, he says, that farmers did not go to the farm, but would stay in town all day to see the children parade the streets amid cheers. He says, when I migrated to Monrovia as a 6th grade student in Richard Nixon MCC school and later enrolled in GWFC, Flag Day was the day of colorful and healthy throughout the streets. In the interior part of the country, it became a culture that on Flag Day, students would be required to make at least 10 pieces of flag. These are comments and observations by others who consulted. I said, what do you all remember? They sent me their views. And I want to thank them, and I put it here. Where does this patriotism and zeal take us? About rejuvenation of our people, and especially the future leadership of our nation, namely our youth. Here I want to refer to an extract from our nation's 26th July, year 2000 orator, Dr. Romeo Horton. It reads thus: from 1847 to 1999, our lone star, the Republic of Liberia, has remained afloat, sometimes at full staff. On other occasions, the storms of nationhood have been the staff to the breaking point, but never broken, never touched to the ground. We have had our nightmare, but the lone star still flies over land and over sea. From the day our lone star was first, please listen to this, most of the time it has stood alone and lonely. What does that mean? That means for this nation to have survived, it wasn't easy. We were alone and lonely. First Black Republic. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. I remember a statement made by my father as Liberian ambassador to the United Nations. At that time, I didn't understand it. I've been 11 years old. He said, Liberia never had the advantages of colonial rule. And I want us to remember that when we talk about 177 years and look at us. Yes, we have been our own best enemies. Let's remember, we have to stand alone. We have to stand alone. Accordingly, I propose the following actions to ensure that we build, actualize, and maintain the nation's pride and dignity, such that our lone star is never tossed to the ground. Concretely, the how. Here is what my proposal. Foremost, by taking seriously threats to our national security, both from without and within. Since early this year, I have called on government of Liberia to look into the huge numbers of Burkina-based citizens in Grand Chile. The diaspora Grand Chileans have also called the attention from government. What are we waiting for, my people? What are we waiting for? This is serious. The internal threats are several and I address later. But please, This is serious. We have some security problems, and we must not put our heads in the sand. Secondly, the drugs problem and our youth. Since 5 years ago, in my Patriot's Pride, as I turned my mid-70s, I have been on this. We did nothing. Look at where we are today. If it is truly a national emergency, I propose that all our legislatures put 5% of the salary and benefits in a special fund to assist government to tackle the problem. The fund will go into a UN special job fund for Liberia. Our government of Liberia will be one of the managers of the fund. The said fund would be managed internationally. At the same time, some 5% of all social responsibility per county should be added to the said fund. Having said that, we need to request the International Narcotics Organization to come to Liberia and assist us look into the drug problem, the importers, those harboring the drugs, and assessment of our capacity to deal with the problem. We do not have the capacity. Let us call a spade. We need international assistance. Come here and help us look at this problem. That is an international narcotics organization. Let them come and help us. We cannot afford. We cannot afford otherwise. This is the future of our nation. These are the future leadership. Thirdly, issue of education and training. If we are to reach the international percentage of national budgetary allocation to education, 5% of all corporate social responsibility funds should go into our reaching the target by the end of the term of this government, with emphasis among others on training, trade and skills, attacking youth unemployment, rehabilitation, and development rural areas. Human resource of this nation is critical. Madam Minister, we need to start working on reaching that 30% of whatever the particular allocation that countries are supposed to do for education. We need to do that. We talk about other countries, we talk about Mauritius, we talk about Singapore, and all of those countries. Education, human resource investment was what got them where they are. And we need that. Fourthly, the issue of divisiveness in the society must be tackled. Hate speeches and inciting of violence is not free speech. Moreover, free speech and freedom of expression does not mean that you 2013, in her Patriots platform, Sister Mary Lorraine Brown said that freedom of speech means respect always for another human being. What I ask is a message to our children. Are we telling the future leadership of the country that it is all right to insult our leadership? Former President Weir, the world applauds you for your handover to President Walker in response to the will of the people as per the 2023 result of the elections. You are therefore stopped. That, nonetheless, President Weir, former president, we must not let those associated with you continue to incite violence in the nation. We are hate speeches and provocation against the rule of law. I covered Rwanda for the United Nations. I went to Rwanda 3 times. I know what hate speeches and violence can do. Please, if we are to maintain the peace, the verbiage that you are maintaining, your team must not do otherwise. Any hate speech is harmful as it undermines social cohesion, fosters discrimination, creates division, and can lay the foundation for violence, setting us back. That is why we all must take measures to combat hate speeches. In your case, Mr. Former President, you're also a former UN Peace Ambassador, making the onus on you not limited to Liberia. I implore you, therefore, to caution your supporters, and I caution all those others, negativism and violence promoters in our society. the law, Article 20 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights obligates states to prohibit by law any expression of national, racial, or religious hatred that incites discrimination, hostility, and violence. In practical terms, it means that states are obliged to develop legislation that sets out criminal and other sanctions for those unlawful forms of expression. Such law should not be used, however, to silence dissenting voices. In May 2019, in order to address hate speeches and to raise awareness of the potential harm of hate speech, the UN Secretary General approved the UN Strategy and Plan of Action on Hate Speech. It aims to enhance UN efforts to address the root cause and drivers of hate speech. Having said that, the recent violence at the CDC headquarters on 22nd of August must be investigated. What really happened? If indeed the issue was drugs, then the Liberian Drug Enforcement Agency and its modality of operation will require investigation. With it is proposed international assistance for that. We strongly condemn what happened. The women went to the thing, and I went to the site personally on behalf of Anti-Brooks International Center. I called House Speaker Kanati Kofa. I didn't hear from him, but he says his phone was with others. My main point is, before going there to find out what happened, I called the speaker, who was speaking. I called him. Someone else had his phone. But the point is, we, the women of Liberia, as in the past, who stood for peace and whatnot, when we saw what was happening, we had to go there. And I went and got the Pacific. My two last action-oriented proposals, according to the Lone Star, concerns the Sustainable Development Goal. I propose that the Ministry of Education leads a charge for Liberia to work towards the 2030 target for SDGs. In this regard, let us get the young people involved. My organization, the Liberian Institute for Growing Patriotism, has over the past 2 years undertaken some piloting at several schools of introduction of the Sustainable Development Goals goal aims. Highlights of this I'm prepared to make available to you, Madam Minister. As such, we are prepared, Anti-Brooks and Institute for Growing Patriotism, to join forces with Ministry of Education in conjunction with the UN system to pursue this proposal and not relent. In short, let it be one of the concrete follow-through from this My Flag Day oration. It's a recap of the 4 schools: Liberia, Spiriton Academy, HELC, and the 7th Street Community School. Let's expand the SDG game to other schools. It's a UN system goal game, SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. We have to report to the United Nations in 2030. What did we do in Liberia? Where are we? I am proposing let's work on it now. We will expand the piloting. We will support students in documenting projects, explore integration of the Sustainable Development Goals into the Liberian curriculum. Are you ready, Madam Minister? I am, and to the UN system, I trust that you are ready to take up the challenge together with the Ministry of Education, UN system, UNFPA, and others of the UN system who are here. This is serious proposition, not just talk. I don't talk. My remaining cry follow-up for concrete action to this oration concerns the state of our capital. We must do something about the garbage, the disgraceful state of our cemetery, and the sidewalks that has been a dishonor to the Lone Star. Look at the access to the diplomatic enclave of the nation. Newport Street, UN Drive. What kind of people are we? We are a cemetery. There is an adage that says, show me how a people treat the dead, and I can tell you what kind of people they are. In this regard, see the National Cemetery in Dakar, Senegal. See the National Cemetery in Lusaka, Zambia, Dominica, compared to Africa's oldest republic. Shame, shame, shame. The last two concern the security. Putting in place an award for the school that will promote the best program for national unity, and holding our Lone Star, not only physically but morally, value, and pride. The Liberian Institute for Growing Patriotism and the NG Brooks, which I am chair of the board, would be prepared to collaborate with the Ministry of Education to work on its implementation by next year's Flags Day. This would also be linked with the SDGs initiative proposed above. This would be a part of preparing and capacitating Liberia's future. Sustainable peace is what the Accra Peace Agreement was all about some 20 plus years ago. But there can be no sustainable peace without justice. As such, the outstanding case of our former Chief Justice, Laura Musu Stop, cries for justice. Come on, come on, come on. Amen, amen, amen. Lone Star, our former Chief Justice. Come on, come on, come on. I was there with them a year ago, and they came and delivered the citation. Lone Star. What are we about? It's not operationalized what it means. Lastly, I call for an independent National Advisory Council. My last cry is the need for establishment of an independent National Advisory Council in Liberia, as proposed in my Patriots Cry at 7 to 8 in both the Observer and Women's Voices. This is not coming from myself alone. Lots of Liberians want such cry. We are not looking for anything. We don't need any consultancies. We don't need any money. You have Liberians' expertise who are here and available. Government alone cannot do it. No particular affiliation. Rather, the allegiance is only to the Lone Star Republic of Liberia. Such a council cannot and must not be government-driven. It will be concerned with global and regional megatrends, regional integration, cooperation, private sector, and investments. It would be co-chaired by legal minds, private sector with economic development, finance, and public sector expertise. 2 or 3 vice chairs, one from private sector, for example, Chamber of Commerce and Diaspora. Such a council would reinforce and enhance the government and tap the expertise that our nation has and needs to benefit from. Such a council could explore, amongst others, the prospect of establishing something called a Liberia Fund to propel the nation's development, as we cannot continue to be dependent on donors. This is where we need a Romeo Horton who has left us. Might there be others ready to tackle such a prospect? The encouragement of diaspora investments will prove a trigger to this, while we commit some corporate social responsibility to this. How about 10%? In closing my oration, I have endeavored to document the basis for the theme of our 177 oration with concrete operationalization as we move forward and maintain the flag in holding our Lone Star. Here I will call on a young Liberian, Massa Gray, to read a poem on the significance of the Liberian flag prepared for this occasion. Young Massa, 23 years old, please come up here. Massa Gray, come up here and read Liberia's, she is one of Liberia's special leadership. I asked her to prepare a poem.
Significance of the Liberian flag. As a young Liberian who is proud of her roots, to me, the Liberian flag signifies unity. It represents not only a joyful, liberated people, but it also signifies the courage that comes with being a Liberian. Even people who are not Liberians see the flag and eagerly want to know who Liberians are and where Liberia is situated. People who know us quickly remember who Liberians are. We are what our flag portrays us to be. We are free. Not only free, but united people. We are a people of love. The uniqueness of our accent and the way we speak our colloquia can never be forgotten or left out when people are discussing our flag and the culture. We are a people of culture, unique in our kind. The red, white, and blue on our flag signifies togetherness because there are different colors, but they all complement our flag very well together. The Liberian flag is not just a symbol. It is a true representation of how we Liberians should be. We should be united and work together always. Just how the colors on the Liberian flag complement and not compete, that's how we Liberians should be. Let's complement each other and not compete. Unity, love, and togetherness is the only way forward. Thank you so much.
Liberia's future leadership. Thank you, young lady. Thank you for this opportunity for me to deliver this. Madam, the Lone Star, symbol of one Liberia, for which we are.